Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to a Town Hall Forum. The two U.S. Senators who join us this evening are truly unique among their contemporaries in Washington, D.C. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. But for every year since 1999, at the start of a new session of Congress, they've set aside their partisan differences in order to hold joint town hall forums with their constituents in order to remain in touch so they know the issues that are important to Oregonians. Republican Senator Gordon Smith is a former Oregon State Senator. In fact, he was elected Senate President by his peers. He was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1996 and is now in the midst of his second term in office. Democrat Ron Wyden served 8 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. He was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1996 and is now in the midst of his third term in office. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you tonight. I'm looking forward to a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be here with you.
This afternoon you attended the Southern Oregon Meth Project Town Hall Forum. The Southern Oregon Meth Project itself is sponsored for a minimum of 3 years by community partners. When you look at projects like this, how important is it that you think that it originates from a private concept, Senator Wyden?
Obviously, when you have a citizens-driven movement, it's everything. Government doesn't have all the answers, and certainly no one-size-fits-all approach from Washington, D.C. is the way to go. It's also pretty obvious meth isn't going to go away on its own. We're going to have to relentlessly fight meth. It seems to me we have to go after the supply with tough law enforcement, and we have to zero in on reducing demand as well with smart prevention programs, particularly ones that I think ought to be driven by students because they're the vulnerable population.
Senator Smith?
Well, I think everybody knows crime is experienced locally, and so when you have local folks, good people, people of goodwill and stations like this sponsoring important forums like this, bringing people together, it's very helpful. I think the good news we found in the paper this morning and certainly in what we attended today, we are making progress. Not only the state of Oregon passed important legislation to get the precursor drugs behind the counter instead of in easy access to those who would abuse it, but in the Congress, the last Congress, we passed the Combat Meth Act. It's having a real impact because this is a plague, a scourge that has gone from the West Coast all across our country, and we're making real headway, but we cannot be satisfied until we get it to zero.
Now, our